A very good morning to everybody gathered here. I must begin by saying that it's great to see so many young minds in one room. And I must say that I've always enjoyed in ICSA working with young people because they bring such a fresh perspective every time I used to interact with them. Today my topic is about women, and I'll focus on that. I'll speak a bit about women at workplaces from the perspective of a person who's worked more than 26 years. And I've seen workplaces evolve over time. Compared to, when I joined ICSI, we were just 1,000 people. Today, it's 60,000 people. So I've seen organizations evolve. And I've been a banker. And over the years, my belief is that a workplace without women is like a garden without flowers and greenery, or a sky without stars. So I think organizations need to have that gender diversity. And I think today women have achieved far more than anybody would have given credit maybe a few years ago. I was going through a bit of data. I was reading that France allowed women to vote only in 1944, a country which we thought is, very advanced. So I think as a country, we are very proud to see women in India in all walks of life doing exceedingly well. The other day, as I was doing some reading, I stumbled upon this very interesting fact that Jeannette Rankin was the first woman elected to the US Congress and was the only member of Congress who voted against declaring war on Japan after Pearl Harbor. So that kind of speaks about women and their thought process being different from the men. So I thought I'll share my views and experiences on how women balance their personal and professional lives and why I believe women can be very good leaders. I joined an organization which is known for gender neutrality, ICSA. While everybody believes that ICSA, why do women do well in ICSA? I don't think we were ever favored in any way in my last 26 years. But ICSA always never looked at whether it's a male or female when a job was up for grabs. So when ICSA merged with ICSA Bank, I was given the job of running the rural and agri business. For somebody who's done corporate banking, never been to a village, it was quite a daunting task. And I remember when I would visit villages, the whole day I wouldn't find a loo to go to. So that's the kind of ICSA really tests you in all respects. And I remember I had to run the rural branches, which were not computerized. We had acquired Bank of Madura. And I was young, I was 35 years old around that time. And I had to work with people who were 50, 55 age bracket, because Bank of Madura age bracket was high, and people did not know how to use computers. ICSA was technology savvy. So you kind of are put into all kinds of challenges when you're given this role. So clearly, one good thing about ICSA was you always had women leaders to look forward to. I've had 5 women bosses in ICSA, more women bosses than male bosses in ICSA. So you always have somebody who you look forward to, who inspires you. The other thing that I found very interesting, I've just joined Standard Chartered, not even 10 days in the job. So I was in an offsite, just returned yesterday night, and I found that the CEOs of India, Singapore, Thailand, and Hong Kong in the Asia Pac, I was in an Asia Pac offsite, are women. So even you see elsewhere also, organizations, women have started doing very well. But what happens is, what I find is that women, when they are in the 28 to 35 years age bracket, they sometimes take a break, and then it's very difficult to come back. So my advice to a lot of women would be that stay the course. It's tough in those periods where your kids are small, but don't take a long break. If you have to take a break, take a short break and bounce back again. So I'll talk about 3 things: succeeding in personal and professional lives, why I think women are an important part of any team, and what can organizations do to ensure women have a level playing field. So how can women succeed? I think I'll borrow from Indra Nui. Everybody knows her. There was a few years back when PepsiCo was trying to transform from being a soft drink company to a company offering healthier products. And she had 160,000 employees operating in 190 countries. She was asked what keeps her awake at night. And she replied, "My kids. I worry about my kids." And I think the answer would be same for a lot of women, because women have to balance personal and professional lives. But I actually feel kids are a great ego leveler. So, you may be a princess in your organization, but when you step inside your house, you are like any other mother for the children. And I think that is really what really ensures that women have very little ego, because I joke with my children, I'm your personal assistant. Most women who work have to juggle, work and home, and women are very good at multitasking. I think we can handle multiple streams of information. We are emotionally quite stable, which makes us very resilient to shocks, and it also helps us persevere despite many, many roadblocks. I have actually managed to compartmentalize my life, so I spend 5 days in office and 2 days at home. In fact, the 5 days I spend in office, they are long hours, but then 2 days at home is completely quality time with children. And that's how, I guess, women learn their own ways of managing. My advice to a lot of young girls has been that please maintain very good equations with your mother and mother-in-law. They will be the bedrock of your success. And today's generation, you find that they don't want to stay with the mother-in-law. I would say, please stay with your mother-in-law. You can work peacefully at home, at work, because you're not worried about your kids. And Sheryl Sandberg had a very interesting snippet to say that she said that choose your husband well if you want to succeed in your professional life, because he will be the bedrock also of your success. So why women make good leaders? I think a team without women is like food without spice. Women have many qualities which are different. Women have a high emotional quotient. I think women are less likely to take a very hasty decision, and they don't have egos. They have the ability they're very resilient, ability to absorb shock. So sometimes, very often the decisions are much more measured. That's what I've seen. High perseverance. I think I've seen a lot of girls work under me. They give 200% to their job. And I think that is something I really admire about a lot of the girls who worked under me. And the last thing that women have is empathy. I think they're willing to appreciate from a different perspective and evaluate very rationally. And this helps in negotiations and discussions. So how do you have level playing field in organizations? I think organizations need to play a big role. One is, of course, meritocracy, but all organizations claim we are meritocracy, but one finds that very often it's not true. Also, the sensitivity. A lot of organizations have sensitivity. So I worked in a place where we're very sensitive about women. So on a Karwa Chauth, for example, we will ensure that women don't work late. When women are working late, we ensure that the male boss or whoever's the boss ensures the person reaches home safe. So those kinds of little things are very important to ensure that women actually thrive in an organization. In ICICI, they had something called fertility leave. In Standard Chartered, I'm finding in Bandra Kurla, prime property, we have creches for women. And I was very delighted to see there were 50 kids in the creche. So lots of things organizations need to do to enable women to kind of flourish. And of course, goes without saying, equal opportunities. I wanted to quote Sudha Murthy. Some of you may have read about that. She applied to Telco, which is Tata Motors, today in 1974, despite a line in the application saying lady candidates need not apply. Sudha Murthy wrote to JRD Tata asking to be given a fair chance and was inducted as the first woman employee. Sudha Murthy said in a book that she was actually not sure whether she would be inducted into the company. But not only was she inducted, the act opened the door for thousands of women to follow. So clearly, now we see organizations really opening up to having more women. In fact, the other day somebody told me about this very interesting thing, that an automobile company designed cars having only the male designing the car, and they missed out, a lot of the customers are women, and they missed out very interesting things which a woman wants in a car when she's driving a car. So unless you have women perspective, because a lot of the FMCG companies, your customers are 50% women, so you need to have women designing the product, being involved in various parts of the value chain. So if you don't have a woman, it's like a room without a window. And I think if women can be fighter pilots and astronauts, then I refuse to believe there's anything in corporate India that a woman can't do. So in fact, in GSW Steel, where I was on the board, I was very delighted to see when I went to the plant to visit that women were actually operating heavy equipment. And that too in that kind of rural setting. So clearly women are as skillful and can do as many jobs as anybody else. So I'd just like to end that today the world provides a wonderful and vast canvas for women to go out and achieve their potential without worrying about glass ceilings and other issues. And I wish all of you the very best, and I hope you'll have greater heights in your personal and professional careers. Thank you.